Hello, this is Leslie here. This is me doing my first voiceover video, so be nice. I posted a few days ago on a couple of social media, on Facebook and things, on a few groups, this card, which is an inside shadow box card, which Jennifer Maguire, who's an American blogger and crafter who you might have heard of, she posted instructions on how to make this card, but of course it was to American sized cardstock, which isn't the same as standard UK A4 cardstock, which is what most people in the UK get. So I had to play around with the measurements and I thought I'd show you what they... And of course, the moment I started videoing, my doorbell went with a nice package from Amazon. But to go back to this, I'm going to show you how to make this card, which as you can see has got a nice pop-up inside, but it goes completely flat. I'm going to show you how to make it fit a standard UK C6 envelope. As you can see, it go in there nicely. Because I don't like making my own envelopes, it takes too much time and it's a bit of a faff. So this is what we're going to make, and I will show you how to make it from a standard UK size piece of A4 card. So there we go, this is standard A4 sheet, which awkwardly isn't exactly the right size for anything other than chopping it exactly in half. So I'm going to chop this in, I'm going to do a couple of measurements. The first one, to make it easier, I'm going to make it exactly 8 inches wide, and you're going to have to excuse me because I'm going to mix inches and centimetres just to make things a little easier. So we're going to make it exactly 8 inches wide, so I'm hoping you can see that. Here we go, 8 inches, and my trimmer probably needs a new blade, but we're just using cheap card just to illustrate. So there we go, it's exactly 8 inches. And then I'm actually going to make it exactly 29 centimetres wide. I will write all this down on my blog so that you can see the measurements. This measurement doesn't matter. If you wanted to chop it, if you've got a measuring tool that means you can chop your A4 exactly in half, just do that. But I don't know the exact half measurement for UK A4, so I'm going to make mine 29 centimetres. And we're only chopping tiny pieces off. And then half of 29 centimetres, that would make it 14 and a half. So if we chop them in half, so now all we've got left is 2 pieces of card that are exactly 8 inches wide, which is the important measurement, and the height doesn't actually matter as long as they're both the same height. I've done it reasonably well today, but there we go. So the 8 inches wide is the important part. So now what we need to do is score them. So the first piece, we will need an inches scoring board because I've done this in inches, which is why the 8 inches wide is important. I'm going to score both the pieces in half at 4 inches. So the first one, that's all you do. So there we are, scored in half at 4 inches. So that would be, if you were going to make a card base, the same as you normally would do. So that's one piece. And then the second piece, you need to score it first at half an inch. That's half an inch. Then the same thing as the first one at 4 inches. And then at 4.5 inches. And this is the one that will make the box. So just score all those and fold them. And just to repeat the measurements, that's half an inch, 4 inches and 4.5 inches, which makes it quite easy to remember. But I will write it all down on my blog so you can refer back to it. So as you can see, once you've done that, you can see you've got the box shape, and this is the piece that will pop up when you open your card. Get the scoreboard out of the way. If you don't have a scoreboard, you can always use, if you've got a trimmer like of this type, you can use this line and some sort of ball tool or scoring tool or a bone folder to run down that. So you can use it, even you can do this even if you've not got a scoreboard, if you've got a trimmer that's got a slot in it. Now we've got one more cut to make. What you need to do is the one that looks just like your normal card, you need to take 1/2 inch, so everything is in inches, so 1/2 inch is there on my trimmer. So you need to take, it actually works if it's just a tiny bit more than 1/2 inch, so 1/2 inch, just a tiny bit more off the back flap, and it needs to be off the back flap. So you'll end up with 4 inches wide and one that is 3.5 inches wide. So there's that piece gone. And that's all the cutting that you need to do. So the next thing is to work out how this goes together. So the short flap is the piece that's going to get stuck to the inside front of the card. So if you want to make an aperture in your card so that you've got your picture showing through, obviously, the one that you want to make that aperture in is the one next to the short flap, and it will be that way up. So I've got a circle die ready just to cut out. I'm going to put a piece of tape on it just to hold it in place. I'm just measuring by eye where that's going to go, and my tape's been used and used and used. So what I'm going to do is die cut that out, grab my cutting machine, and I'll cut that one out. Out of the way. So now we have our short panel here, which is going to get stuck in there. So we just need a quick bit of tape. Let's hope I've got enough left in my tape runner. Obviously you can use whatever adhesive, but it needs to be something really quite strong, because this is going to move. So you could use wet glue, you can use red liner tape. So you need to line up with the fold once you've got your glue on and close it onto that short flap. So it's stuck to the front panel of the card, and you can see it starts to come together. Now the long piece, which is this one, is going to become the back. So here's your short flap, so turn it all over. Here's the short flap. Put glue all over the one that we cut the 1/2 inch off. Again, you can use wet glue, and then you need to close. I'm going to turn it over so you can see. You're going to close this panel onto it. So obviously there's no adhesive here, so this part, which is the 1/2 inch score, won't stick. You need to close it onto it. So now when we open our card, woohoo, our box magically pops up. Now obviously you can decorate the inside back before you stick it all together, but obviously I was just going to show you quickly how to do it. Or you can decorate, because I was trying to work things out and just work out how to make the card, you could decorate another piece, a scrap piece of paper, and then stick it inside, which is actually what I did with this one. I actually just used another piece of card, stamped onto it, and slotted it in there with some wet glue so it would slide after I'd finished, which might be easier because it means that you can line it up with your aperture. And what I actually did for this one, the piece that I cut out on the inside is what I used on the front. But obviously once you've got this to this point, you can decorate it however you want. If you're interested in what stamps this actually is, I'll show you that. They are from the current issue of Creative Stamping, and it's issue 58 of Creative Stamping. I used this tree in the background, obviously the deer and the grass and some of the little bits and pieces of flowers, just to stick those on the front. And obviously the nice thing about this is you've still got quite a nice space to write on the inside of the card, and you can decorate the front as well however you want. I'm sure most people have seen it before, but to do the deer and get them in front of the tree, you stamp those first and then mask them. And this is the sticky all over post-it notes, so they do stick all over. They're kind of the reverse of a standard post-it note, where they don't have sticky on one edge and then they're sticky on all the rest of it. And they're the super sticky post-its, which I think I got them from Ryman's or somewhere, which they work really well for masking. You just have to be careful that you don't keep stamping and letting it not dry, or else it soaks through. But that's the same with any paper mask. But that's how I do it, and I'll keep that on there so I can reuse it in future. So hopefully that gives you an idea how to make these cards, and I will put all the details of the measurements that I used on my blog. But as you can see, fits perfectly into a standard sized UK envelope. And I hope that's helpful, and goodbye.